All right, this is me. So I am Brad Thompson. I am a licensed professional counselor, that LPC thing that Jackie talked about. I am a supervisor of counselors. Um, uh, my greatest qualification is I am dad to Haley, who is 34. She does not have y'all's diagnoses. We do see 11 doctors. Well, I don't. Let me take that back. Haley sees 11 doctors on an annual basis, sometimes more than annual, depending on the issue. Haley's 34, and she has taken Karen and me down a path. Now, I will introduce myself and Haley this way. She and I were at a conference in Wichita, Kansas, is probably 15 years ago, maybe now. And Karen decided that would be a great time for her to have a staycation and let Haley and I make this adventure on our own. So we did. And Haley was presenting with me that day. And so she gets up behind the stand after we've been introduced, and she says this. She said, "My mom's name is Karen, and she is not with us. And she's the smart one." So you didn't get the smart one in the Thompson pairing. You got Brad, and I will do my best. If you have some really hard questions, write them down. I'll give them to Karen when I get home and get back to you with an answer. So that's me. I am also the trainer for Child Neurology Foundation for groups like yours who train support people. And that's how some of y'all are going to be have that inflicted upon you this afternoon. So what I want to spend just a few minutes, I love what Jackie shared with you, all of the things that are available to you to receive help. Because one of the things we know about this journey, and I am thankful for it, is that because of medical advances and breakthroughs, this is truly a marathon. It's not a sprint. We're going to walk this path, hopefully for many years. Right? And what that requires of us as caregivers is the ability to stay healthy. Now, I did not say the ability to be happy about it. Okay? I love my daughter. I love the people that I have met as a result, and I consider myself to be an incredibly blessed person by the journey that we've been on, but I do not love it every day. And in fact, there are days 34 years into it where I go, I'm just tired of it. Now, don't call a medical professional to come, mental health professional to come do a well visit on me. I'm fine. I'll be over it in a little bit, but I don't always love it, and it's okay. Right? And what I want for us is to be a community, because I believe in community. And I believe in having the ability to sit with someone who can hear me non-judgmentally, to just say, I hear what you're saying. Hear what you're saying. And so being able to be in a group that gets it is powerful. Being able to share the story in the listening ear is powerful. And that's what we get to do here. That's why I love getting to come to these meetings. So I want to talk with you more specifically this morning about just one idea. There's a book out there called The Upside of Stress. It's written, tell me who it's written by. Stanford professor, not written down. Brad's memory's not as... It'll come to me in a minute. Anyway, so what I tell people all the time is that I quote people from books, which makes me sound well-read. But I have learned that, you have these life hack things. I have learned a life hack, and that is to read books who quote a lot of other books. And then if you pull those quotes from that one book, it looks like you're very well read. And the truth is, I only read the one. But I need to give her credit. She's a, yes, yes, thank you. Yeah, and she's amazing. I remembered the title, so you could get there, right? Kelly McGonigal is an amazing author around the idea of mindset and stress. And one of the mindsets that she refers to in this book is the idea of shift and persist. And it's an approach to life that prioritizes shifting oneself, accepting stress for what it is, and adapting to it. Okay. In combination with persisting, which the definition is to endure life with strength by holding on to meaning and optimism. And Dr. Chen and Miller really started studying this in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. And what they found was that people who just accepted that it's hard not to accept a Category 5 hurricane wiping out your whole house, right? If you can stay in denial when there's no roof over your head or walls around you, you have mastered the art of denial. But what they looked at was how people survived and thrived in that setting, and what was the difference between people who got stuck and people who were able to pick up the pieces and move on. Again, you're taking pictures of this. It's in your app. You can get them all. So yeah, conference materials. See, we added a step. That's what community is good for. So shifting is accepting that stress is a part of life, right? It is a part of life. How many of you would raise your hands and say you live a stressful life? Yeah, we all would. So, and we watch commercials every day, right? That says stress-related heart disease is killing us. So what do? We eliminate stress. Well, how many of you can eliminate your stressor? You can't. It's either you're stressing over real things, or it's your child that we're not going to eliminate our children, right? I mean, there have been moments, and I won't ask you who have had those moments because that's iffy, but we've had those moments, right? That's not possible. So our stressor is not going away. And Lord willing, they're not going away for a long, long time, right? Which means I'm glad I made you laugh. Yeah. That's awesome. No, we're good. So Karen and I also have a son, Justin, who is 18 months older, and it's a miracle of God that he survived junior high. Okay, so and he has no special need, quote unquote. I think all junior high boys have multiple special needs, but they're non-diagnosed at this point. Anyway, I'll get back on track. Yeah, well, I think age 13 should be a diagnosis all unto itself. The problem is that it's everywhere, so it doesn't really count. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Thank y'all for laughing with me today. It makes it a whole lot more fun. Now, I don't know if you're learning anything, but we laughed today, right? Yeah, it does. It does. Going back to McGonigal, what they have found over and over and over again is that it's actually not stress that kills us. It's our attitude and mindset toward it. And it's not in one of these slides, I don't think, but I love her definition of stress. Stress is what happens to us when something that we care about is at stake. Okay, well, so stress just indicates to us that something that matters is going on here. Once it's gotten us to pay attention, then it also does some things to us chemically that makes us more able to manage that thing. how we choose to think about it changes some of the chemicals in our brain. Our brains are amazing. And the way we see the stressor literally changes the chemicals that get fired. They all produce energy, they all produce these things, but some of them provide chemicals that are more healthy to us in the long run than others. When we constantly go to the fight, flight, or freeze response, that is the response that ultimately hardens our arteries and leads to heart disease. Okay? But that's not our only choice. It's not our only option. So persisting is just maintaining a sense of optimism needed to pursue a meaningful life in the midst of challenge. Okay? That's what we're going to try to get to. So shift and persist, accepting things that are beyond our control. If I were asking you to write some things down, and I can talk forever and not say anything, so I got to watch the clock for a different reason. What are those things that are beyond your control in your situation? You can't. You can't. Right. Okay. Great. What else? Audience participation. Your speech. Can't control it, right? It is what it is. What else?
Sometimes your arm movements and leg movements.
Okay. Okay. I don't always.
Especially with me, like sometimes I'll just be sitting in the chair and my muscles will start flexing, and you don't tell them to. They just do.
Don't have control, right? Yeah.
Can't control the other way people react to your situation.
Oh, I have no control over others, do I? Right, but let me give you some hope. Okay. I've been blessed to get to go all over the place. And what I find is that there are more people who care and love than those who don't. And sometimes they're awkward because they don't know how to ask about it. They're afraid that asking about it might get them in a fight. They don't know. And so they kind of take a hands-off, backed off approach. But I hope that you found, if you have been here a couple of days, which I have not, that you have some of the most brilliant people in the world studying you. And not because they were born into it like I was, but because they just have a heart for you. That gives me great hope, right? Okay, that's not on the slides either. So that was free, all right? Being responsible. What are those things? What are the things that we do have some control over? Our reaction, right? What else?
Oh, going back to what we don't have control over, we don't have control over the weather. But sometimes we do have control, or sometimes we don't have control over, like my elbow will start acting up when the pressure in the air changes.
Oh, so if you can predict the weather, would you call my guy in Amarillo, Texas, who never gets it right? I appreciate that. Okay, I appreciate that. Tell me when I can play. It was pretty funny this morning when I got in the elevator to come down here. There were 4 guys with golf clubs. And I thought, y'all are incredibly optimistic because it's pouring down rain out there, right? They had not seen the weather forecast. Anyway. And then I asked them, so have you seen it? And they said, well, we don't really care because our wives are going shopping. So we're going to the golf course. So we're either going to play golf for the next 5 hours or drink for the next 5 hours. Either way, we're going to feel better when we're done. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I believe that creating meaning is the most important thing in anyone's life. I don't care if you're affected by disability or not. Meaning is what gets us up in the morning. So being active in the area that creates meaning in our lives are things that we have responsibility for. Gloria Naylor, who went through Hurricane Katrina, says, life is accepting what is and working from that. Okay. There are many things about our situation that we cannot change. So continuing to try to live in those things, those things leads to learned helplessness, right? I will be better when. I can't fix this, so you make me happy. It's a lot of responsibility to give to another human being, right? Even people that love us can't do that. Am I changing the slides again? No, okay. Reappraisal is a big part of shifting. Reappraisal allows us to adjust to our reality and then develop strategies that allow us to live into the chronic regular stressors in our lives. Okay. This is our life. Being angry about it's not going to change it. Being in denial about it's not going to change it. Being depressed about it, not going to change it. Now, all of these are stages that we're going to go through numerous times in our life. I call it chronic stress. You've probably read all about chronic stress. Says we're going to do this over and over and over again, and that may make you a little depressed just thinking about that. But the truth is, every time a season in our life changes, we're going to go through these stages again because we're having to learn new rules. We're having to learn new teammates. We're having to learn new settings. And when we have to do that, it puts us kind of back in, if you look at stages of adapting, it kind of puts us back in survival mode because we're just trying to figure out where we're at again. Now, the beauty of this is if we've done it a few times, we move through them quicker, hopefully, but we still go through it. Okay. Karen and I have been through so many strategies or so many seasons over 34 years. And even now we go through new ones that make us ask questions like you can't tell by looking, but I'm not young anymore. Okay. Which means I don't have as much energy as I used to have, which means if something happens with Haley, I'm less likely to be able to physically manipulate her situation, right? Well, that requires me to know some new people, right? To have some new phone numbers in my emergency list, right? It's just a season. It's just the next season, right? You were going to say something, sir?
I have a next seat. I just moved on one day.
Oh,
We just moved about 45 minutes to an hour north of where we used to live.
Yeah.
And it's a lot different because before at our old house, I had these 3 friends that ended up becoming some of my best friends.
mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's a husband, wife, and daughters.
Yeah.
The husband and wife are both around my age. The daughter is 10 years old. And they became my best friends. We went through a lot of learning curves together. Yeah. But now I moved up to, it's kind of funny, Cleveland, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just the way of life up here is a lot different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found out even only living there 2 days so far.
Yeah.
And it's there are some people my age, but most of them are a little bit older than me.
Yep.
So it's a slower way of life.
Yeah.
But it's a much better season of life.
Yeah. Yep. So we have to, now my neighbors are strangers and they won't always be, but they are now, right? So what learning this shifting allows us to do is develop agency. And what agency gives me is confidence that I don't know what's coming, but I've handled it to now. I will, whatever's coming, I feel like I will. All right. Emphasizing shifting emphasizes controlling self over the situation. I have control over me, and that's about it, right? And wishing it was different. How many of you wish it was different? Doesn't help. Doesn't help. Being able to say it out loud in a group that won't judge me is a little therapeutic, but staying there and commiserating for long is just wasting time and energy. I will tell you this, we may need to take a minute every now and then to just acknowledge that this is not the life that I was looking for or hoping for. And it's not just for me, it's for Haley as well. Can I have just a minute to say, pardon my language, this sucks? Can I have just a minute? Can I have just a minute to say, we've been doing this for 34 years and I don't really want to go to the next new doctor? We will go there tomorrow, but can I just have a minute today? It allows me to be real. It allows me to be authentic. Because now in most of the world that I live in, and I got to get moving here, but most of the world that I live in, when they ask me, how are y'all doing? What's the answer? Good, fine, you were good. And why is that? We want to be accepted, but 99.99% of the world could not handle the full answer. And the truth is, we are fine considering that Haley has cysts growing in her liver. She has issues with her kidneys. She has a cyst in her spine that's 10 inches long. She has an uncontrolled seizure disorder. She has all the things. And relatively speaking, we are fine. Because if I told you that and you know her, you would not sleep at night, right? Y'all are going, whatever, because you live that life, you get it. No. Yeah. Now they will avoid me in the church foyer because they're so afraid I might give them an update that's not great, right? Yeah. So where would just that mindset shift help you? To just see that I have some control over some things. Persisting. This one Katrina survivor said, you have to be so strong-minded to survive. You can do the best you can, and if you fail, you get up again. That's all you can do. Right? We fail. So let me ask you this. What have you learned more from? Your failures or your successes? Failures. I don't know why we're wired that way, but apparently we are. I know me, when I have a success, I tend to go, I'm really good. Amazing how I figured that out. When I fail, I have to look around for why. And it's that persistence of continuing to get up and continuing to try to move forward that builds resilience. And this is just my thought. We all want resilience, but most of us hate the way it's built because it's built through failure and struggle, right? Chen said, persistence involves enduring adversity with strength, holding oneself steady and finding meaning in difficult situations, and maintaining optimism about the future. Do we look forward to what life has in front of us with hope or despair? Hope leads to acceptance, which leads to growth. Despair leads to survival, which is okay because there's a blessing in survival. We keep getting up every day, but we tend to wake up in the same place. I want us to move forward. So I believe making meaning of the life we have is the key to persistence, right? We're all trying to make sense of this. If you're a caregiver, especially, or a parent, you're asking questions like, why is this happening? If you're the one enduring this, why is this happening to me? Right? If you're a caregiver, you're asking, what did I do wrong? Karen will tell you she wrestles with this every day, that something happened to Haley while she was carrying her. What did she do wrong, or what did she not do right? We're all looking for the answers, right? It's because we're trying to make sense. And so then what happens when there aren't answers? How do we create meaning? And I'm going to tell you right up front that Haley's life doesn't look like I thought it would. And I am not interested in consolation prizes. Okay. That I believe Haley Thompson's life has just as much capacity for relevance and making a difference and value as our son's life does. And if we don't believe that, we won't do this work. We'll just survive it. What if our situation doesn't have a Disney ending? I have this great love-hate relationship with Disney movies because they get you the first act to fall in love with the character, but then they always have a second act where they struggle mightily, right? But then they always have a third act that's happily ever after. Well, I don't know about you, but most of the people that I worked with got stuck in act 2. I just want to go from act 1 to act 3. What about you? What if it doesn't have a Disney ending? The Disney ending would be that they discovered a cure for what's ailing you at this conference, right? And they didn't, that I know of. Or maybe I just don't understand it because they're way over my head. But how do we find meaning in the midst of that? Well, my question is, how many people have you influenced for good because of your situation? How many people have found joy and hope and peace because they know you? I would say that's the greatest meaning that a human being can have in the world. Having meaning allows us to find benefit, lessons learned from our stressors. Some studies call this post-traumatic growth. Sometimes we kind of equate, I got loud, post-traumatic growth and resilience. They're not the same. Resilience allows us to bounce back. Growth allows us to bounce forward. We go forward. Okay, strength from growth facilitates endurance. Growth produces grit, which is one of my new favorite words. I grew up on a farm. And so gritty, was just this, term that is like toughness. What comes to your mind when you hear grit? Some of you are probably going, it means you probably need to go take a shower. It's a move, true grit. Yeah, you just gave away your generation, right? How many of you have no idea that there was a movie called True Grit? Yeah, you're below 40. So I'm not going to, or not John Wayne fans, one or the other. And if you're not John Wayne fans, you should repent and go find a John Wayne movie. Yes. So if we're caregivers, how do we grow in this space? If you're the person affected, how do you find meaning? Okay. Your presence speaks loudly to me. That wasn't my slide. Okay, man, I added one slide to the end, and so you won't have it on there. So if you want to take a picture of this, I'll leave it laying right here. And it may seem like a hard right turn, but there's another mindset that McGonigal speaks of in her book, The Upside of Anxiety or The Upside of Stress. And it's the tendon befriend response. And this is a fascinating story, and I'm over time, but I'm going to tell it to you. So how many of you remember, I don't remember exactly when it was, but the bombing at the Boston Marathon? You remember the story? Yeah. So they studied the after effect of these two groups of people after that bombing. There were two groups. There was the group that ran toward where the bombs went off and the group that ran away. No judgment. Bombs are going off. Right. So, but what they discovered was that the people who ran in were not just medical professionals, first responders. Many of them were just average people like us. And they couldn't do anything to help anyone, but they gathered things. They picked up purses, medals, whatever, and they just handed them back to Lost and Found or wherever. But what they found was that the people who ran toward, there were 0 cases of post-traumatic stress disorder. The people who ran away had a higher than average prevalence of post-traumatic stress disorder. What they discovered the difference was in the stress response hormones that were released. Running away produced the fight or flight response. Running toward created the tendon befriend response. What's the difference? Tendon befriend response has a high level of oxytocin, which is the hugging hormone, the cuddling hormone. I'm not suggesting that in a group of people you don't know really well, but it's what happens there. It's that response that says, we're going to bond together and we're going to do something as a result. Okay. It's the hormone that allows us to block out the threat that we're under. Nobody knew there wasn't another bomb going to go off. They just ran in. Their ability to block that out came from this hormone. And then it joins us together. And the reason I wanted to end with that is because the tendon befriend response is what happens when we gather in community. Okay, I'm going to guess that your resilience is greater today than it was Tuesday. And you know why? Because you've spent time doing this. And when we do this together, we grow. We get encouraged, we gain hope, we gain information, but most of all, we gain relationship and community. Right?